Hey there, it's your boy Steve here. Today we're going to do another video, another drawing video. I will get back to my painting videos, I promise. I've just been in a weird spot where I've been doing a lot of commissions and really involved. They take a long time to do, and it's just impossible to film it all and cut it down to a half an hour or so. So, at least for me. So I will get back to that. Those of you who are looking for more painting videos, I hear ya. But today we're going to do another drawing video. This one's going to take a little bit longer. I haven't done it yet. And the fact that you're seeing this means that it worked. But we're going to do a sketch of Neptune here, this sculpture of Neptune. And I'm thinking it'll probably take me about an hour if I'm guesstimating right. And I'll speed it up so it takes about 15 minutes. You can still see everything that's going on, but you don't have to sit and watch paint dry. Stream of consciousness, like I always do, talk to you through what I'm thinking, what I'm doing, tips and tricks, anything that comes to mind. And we'll probably even talk about Neptune in a little bit. But if you have any questions or comments, I love to hear from you. Put them down in the comments section. And yeah, let's get going on this. Yeah. Who is that guy? Get security in here. The first thing that I need to tell you on this is that the size of my reference is exactly the same size as what I'm going to be drawing it. This is called sight size. A lot of times you'll use this if you're taking life drawing classes and you have a model and you'll set your easel up back so that the size of the model is going to be the size of your drawing, and then that way you're able to take horizontal measurements to make sure that that everything, at least horizontally, is the same size. Well, I guess that's kind of confusing. Everything about the measurement that you're going to take here is going to be the same size. I am taking measurements horizontally, but I'm also measuring things like the width of the eyeball and, you know, the width of the eye socket and things like that. So it's easier to draw this way rather than having to make the conversion over. It's obviously you can do it, but you know, if you're looking at doing a drawing that's, let's say, as complicated as Neptune here, you want to try and make it as easy for yourself as possible. The other reason I'm doing it this way is that it fits 16 to 9 ratio for YouTube videos, so that works out pretty good. One thing I did want to mention here is that you'll notice as we're going along that the exposure jumps around on this, and that's my fault. I'm using a new camera, at least it's a new camera to me, and I forgot to apply the auto exposure lock so that when I move my hand around, the exposure changes. So anyways, that's why it's a little bit disconcerting. I'll fix that on my future videos. So sorry. Now this point in the drawing, it's going a little bit slower because I'm taking measurements to make sure that what I put down, I'm not going to have to try and fix later or find out while I'm rendering that the ear was in a wrong place, or you know, the eye was too high or low. So this part of the drawing for me always takes a little bit longer because I will measure things and then I will go on to other things and measure those and come back and just kind of double check my work. Believe me now, but hear me later. The extra time that it takes at this stage will definitely pay off down the road whenever we start rendering this and adding values and tone changes. But right now it's important that I take my time and make sure that everything is visually where it should be. It doesn't have to be exactly perfect, like the beard that he has. You know, I get the feeling across, and I'm close, but I don't sweat it so it's 100%. But I definitely do sweat the fact that the eyes are the right distance apart. Everything else on the structure of the face, you want that to be spot on. But when it comes to things like, where the folds are or where the hair is exactly, I get it close. But the most important thing is to make sure that the features are where they need to be. One thing that I didn't notice until much later was the fact that if you look at where his pupil is and the angle of the pupil, it's more diagonal in the photo, and where I have it on my drawing, it's more vertical. So I think I come in and fix that later. As I'm watching this, it's just killing me. So I missed it, but you're gonna get that, and that's what we do. We do this to learn and see where maybe we missed it. We'll get close. I definitely am not perfect at this, and you just keep doing this until you get it right. Let me talk for a moment about the tools I'm using. The mechanical pencil is a Bic pencil, extra smooth. It's a standard number 2, 0.7, and I buy them in packs of 40. They're really inexpensive. They're throwaway. You don't reload them. The Strathmore is my normal Strathmore Bristol smooth plate finish. You get 20 sheets in this, and it's nice heavy paper. I love drawing on this. It's my favorite surface. And the great thing about sketching like this is you have very simple tools, really inexpensive. Just sit down and draw. Unless I'm out traveling, I like to sit down and draw every day. It's just something I do for myself. The rendering is starting now because you see I'm putting in tones. I have everything pretty much where I want it, and I'll make adjustments along the way, but now I go in and I start adding different values. I will mention that when I'm drawing with a pencil, I've always done this. I use more lines than smudging. If I'm going to be doing, if I want to do a smoother drawing, then I'll go to charcoal. But for me, I don't know. I've always drawn so that the lines are visible, and it's just what I'm comfortable with. I like the way it looks. Everybody draws differently. Don't feel like, you have to try and emulate what I'm doing. This is just the way I draw. Find out what your calligraphy is, and stick with that and develop that. But yeah, this is starting to get in to do the tonal work and build up those values. I don't get it completely there on the first pass. Sometimes it takes many passes to get to the value that I want, like is near the eye or in the back behind the ear there. So I just kind of slowly build things up, knowing that I'll eventually get there. I keep in my head where I want your focus to be. So, I will maybe make the eye area the darkest, and then everything else is maybe just a little bit lighter than that. Don't feel like you have to follow what the value is there exactly. I don't have to fill in any more than what values I have in the back behind the ear there if I don't want to. That way you're controlling the drawing. It's not controlling you. You're making artistic choices, and that's what this is all about. It's all, it's all interpretation. It's all personal taste. You'll notice I have a little slip sheet down between my hand and what I'm drawing, and I'll move that around. But I have to do that, being left-handed. I find that I smudge an awful lot if I don't. So this is a nice way to not have to clean up. If you want to keep your drawing looking a little bit cleaner, this is the way I do it. But no matter what you do, you're going to have to go through some of those hand gymnastics and try to keep from getting everything all muddied up. Right now we're at about the halfway point. We've got everything laid down where we want it. Now we're just building up those tones and reinforcing the areas where you want the eye to go, and then making the other areas not as important. Harvey Dunn once said, "Never emphasize the unimportant in a painting," and that's true for drawing too. Don't emphasize something that you don't want your eye to look at. And I'm also making corrections along the way. I mean, take a little break and you come back and you see, well, this is maybe not the right angle, or just corrections. Never feel like you're there. If you can go and while you're drawing, you just keep your eye on everything and make sure that it's where it's supposed to be. If it's not, stop, erase, and put it in better. There's nothing wrong with that. That's just what you should be doing. As I get away from the features of the face a little bit, you'll notice that I loosen up on some of my line work here. It keeps it fresh, keeps it from looking too overworked, and I just think it's cool looking. So that's the way I've always drawn. Maybe it was growing up looking at Leonardo or Michelangelo drawings, all the old masters. But this is just kind of the way I do it. And I really enjoy it. I think it's fun. It helps you to see things come to life and keeps you from over modeling things. This is always the fun part of the drawing for me. You're going in and you're adjusting things, you're adding things, you're erasing them so that they knock back a little bit. There's a lot of adjustment that goes on, and it's all part of the process. But the most important part is getting everything down where it's supposed to be. And for the most part, I think we have that now. And so it's really just finishing it out, continuing to model the forms and emphasize what's important and make subservient what is not important. Still haven't fixed that eye. This is a pretty small drawing. It's probably maybe 6 or 7 inches tall. And it's okay for me to do this horizontally. But the larger that your drawing gets, the more important it is for you to get it up off of your drawing table and either completely vertical, which is best, or at the very least diagonal. Because if you have this drawing and it's a good sized drawing and you're sitting at your drawing table, what happens is the proportions go out of whack on you. When you get done and you stand up, you're going to find if you're drawing Michelangelo's David statue, his head is even more monstrous than what it would otherwise be. It looks right at that angle, but then you stand up and everything is elongated. So if it's at all possible, get yourself a nice lap board, put it on your lap, and draw that way. Get used to drawing that, or stand at an easel and draw that way. That's the absolute best way to do that. You can get away with these smaller ones, but once you start doing larger drawings, you're going to regret that you didn't do that. That's one I've been meaning to mention for a number of videos. I'm glad I finally remembered in time to add it to this one. So, who was this Neptune guy? Well, according to Mythopedia, Neptune was the Roman god of waters and seas who controlled winds and storms. Also known as Neptunus Equester, he was recognized as a god of horses and horsemanship, as well as a patron of horse racing, which was a popular form of entertainment for the ancient Romans. In terms of his characteristics in mythology, Neptune was an exact copy of the Greek deity Poseidon. So, Neptune was Roman, Poseidon was Greek. According to Ovid's Metamorphoses, composed during the early years of the Roman Common Era, Neptune determined the contours of the earth by shaping the seafloor, as well as the valleys through which the rivers and streams flowed. So this is how it worked. Neptune strikes the ground with his trident so that it trembles, and with that blow he opens up channels for the waters. Overflowing, the rivers rush across the open plains, sweeping away at the same time not just orchards, flocks, houses, and human beings, but sacred temples and their contents. In his zeal, Neptune drowned the whole world, Any building that has stood firm, surviving the great disaster undamaged, still has its roof drowned by the highest waves and its towers buried below the flood. And now the land and sea are not distinct. All is the sea without a shore. The destruction caused by the flood left only one man and one woman alive. Eventually, the great king of the seas allowed his son Triton to blow his mighty conch and signal the waters to recede. The raging waters subsided, leaving the earth with the contours as they were known to the Romans. Before this, I knew very little about Neptune, but in the mythology of him, by and large, the Roman deities were less distinct and defined in comparison to their Greek counterparts. And this was particularly true of Neptune, who joined the Roman pantheon much later than the other deities. According to some calculations, Neptune did not emerge as a deity of common worship until the 4th century BC, nearly 400 years after the founding of Rome. There are indications, too, that Neptune's precise role in the Roman mythos was unclear for centuries following his introduction. Despite Neptune's late arrival, many Roman authors presented him as an original member of the Roman pantheon and an important player in the founding of Rome. So with that, we're coming down towards the end of the drawing here of Neptune. I am going to put a little bit of a background in here, and I'll probably leave it overnight, come back, and do a little bit of strengthening of parts and erasing of parts. You'll notice that I did that a little bit while we were talking about the history of Neptune. But yeah, I would love to hear what your thoughts are. If you have any questions or comments, go ahead and put them down in the comments section for me. If you like this kind of content and you find it interesting, why not consider subscribing and hitting the notification bell? Here's our little drawing of Neptune with his seashells and seaweed in his hair. All right, I guess I didn't fix the eye, so I'm going to have to go in and do that now. Thanks for joining me. I'm going to close up the studio now, and until the next time, I'll see you down the road.